Good evening and welcome to the March 24th, 2015 Finance Committee meeting. With us this evening, committee members present, myself, Councilor Di Natale, Councilors Kuchmarek, Clark, President Hay, and Councilor Tran. Also with us this evening, Councilors Bean, Green, Beazall, Caddy, Joseph, Boschman. We will start with 03515, order transfer $42,500 to information technology expenses from reserve for other municipal purposes. Mr. Bonilla. Do I have any questions for Mr. Bonilla on this item? President Hay?
Yeah, at the last meeting, I had expressed, and I think other members of the committee had expressed concerns regarding the policy and procedures regarding the web page and who had what responsibilities for doing what and who had authority to ensure that people did what their part that was there. I was just handed a document here from the mayor handed out saying the web page content policy. This seems to give a lot of information regarding the content management, the website objectives, the authority to post content, definitions, and ultimately it says at the end, number 8, final authority. The information technology manager is responsible for the maintenance and approval of the city's website and has authority to make decisions pertaining to same. However, the final authority with regard to all decisions pertaining to the city's website rests with the mayor of the city of Fitchburg. That seems to me to imply that the IT director has some authority, but ultimately it's the mayor's responsibility. How does that work, Trevor? If I'm a department manager or department head, and you come to the conclusion that I'm not doing my job in regards to the input to the website, do you speak to me?
I would speak to you first, I believe. I think I'll be the way the new content management system is going to. Excuse me, I'm sick today.
That's fine.
The new content management system will notify the IT department and the department head that the update isn't getting done.
Yeah.
I would speak or email to that department head. If that wasn't satisfactory to the city, then I would bring it to the mayor's attention.
So this document is telling me, in your explanation, that you as the IT manager have authority to tell other city department heads what to do.
Not what to do in their typical job, but
in relationship to the web page.
Content of the web page. And
I'm not, Trevor, this has nothing to do with you. Okay. This has to do with policies and procedures and how you set things up. I think this sets us up for failure and sets us up to have infighting between the IT department and the managers of all the departments in the city of Fitchburg, which is an unreasonable position to put the head of the IT department in. There should be none of that. This final authority is the mayor. And if a department head is not doing what the IT department thinks is appropriate, simply the IT department should report that to the mayor's office, and the mayor needs to be the person to deal with the department heads. As this is written here, it gives me great concern that we're going to end up in the same exact place we are today, which is the web page not getting done correctly and the information not getting there.
It's very similar, if you don't mind me speaking on the matter, it's very similar to the internet use policy and the tablets and internet use policies on the cell phones and smartphones. I write those policies, I enforce those policies. Ultimately, I have no authority to discipline another department head. I would merely take that to the mayor.
Well, if you don't have the ability to discipline, how do you enforce?
Yeah, right.
That's why they fail.
I'm just saying
I understand. And Trevor, the other ones that you have, those fail, and this will fail. And that's exactly the reason.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will allow the mayor to speak only if a counselor has a direct question for, the mayor is present at this meeting tonight. My only question is, the reason why we're talking about maintenance of the website more than the actual goal of what this order achieves is because some counselors 2 weeks ago rightfully asked if the current system isn't working in with regards to maintaining this website, what's to say that the new system is going to be the same? And it was relayed at the meeting 2 weeks ago that IT should not be responsible for what the department heads update. And my concern is, with a new website, there is no guarantee, nor is there any safeguards that I am comfortable with right now, even with this policy that says that that website's going to be maintained. I went on there this morning and I clicked on a link that says doing business in Fitchburg, and it was blank. Evidently, no one in the city looks at the website, because if I looked at that and I was in charge, I would be extremely embarrassed. So, if this policy is the definition of what things are going to be, I guess I have to see it to believe it, because I haven't been given any confidence up to this point that it's going to happen. And I don't feel like I'm being unreasonable with that. I'm just going on, every time I go on that website, there are broken links, there's missing information. We talk about not being business friendly, yet we have a whole page dedicated to business, and it's blank.
We're trying to replace that web page. That's the point of this.
It was blank 4 weeks ago.
Okay. And maybe the economic development person should be the person in charge of doing business in Fitchburg. We don't have one at this point. When that's the time, that would be the department that would be responsible for that part of the content. But right now, there's no ticklers in place to let the IT department know that there's something broken on the web page. Until we have that new content management system, you're going to continue to find broken links. That's it. I'm sorry.
We'll just have to have a disagreement on the fact that this website is going to fix all that.
Okay.
It's garbage in, garbage out as far as I'm concerned. Councilor Beazall.
I totally agree with Councilor Hay. Really, when you're looking at this, your job is not to hold everybody at City Hall accountable. Your job is to make the mayor aware of the issues that are happening within the department, and then it's her role as the mayor to straighten that out. And I would encourage, once this comes online, that you email the mayor, CC the department head, and keep track of that, because a lot of times you may be taking the heat for the website. There's nothing more telling than a trail of emails to show that you've had the same concerns.
Right.
So thank you.
Councilor Kuchmarek.
My concerns is similar in that, as Councilor Hay pointed out, you don't have authority as the head of IT to enforce things over our police chief or our DPW commissioner. And while I would hope that the mayor would support you, ultimately it should come as an edict from the mayor that the department head should be enforcing this policy. So while I would like that kind of iterated at some point, I'm also pleased that we have now come some distance from last year's budget discussion, in that a year ago we were upset over the content, and then we didn't seem to get a direct answer. Who is responsible for the website? Who is responsible for making sure that it's updated? Who is responsible for making sure when content is not updated? Even 2 weeks ago, we had the same concerns. In some way, I'm pleased. I now have a department, I now have someone who's in charge of their department sitting in front of us saying, I will be the one responsible. I'm putting myself on the line. I will hold myself accountable. There's a document here. He's given us the information. So, I'm impressed that I have someone here who's saying, hold me accountable. Let me do my job. Give me the funds to get the new website, and hold me accountable. I would just like a kind of a reaffirmation from the mayor that, that our IT manager isn't going to be set up for failure from the beginning, and that the mayor is going to be holding other department heads accountable. Assuming I have that, I want to get a new website in place, and if in 2 years this is a disaster, well, obviously we have other means of withholding annual allocations, come budget season. But for right now, I can't ask for too much more. I have a department head who's saying they're accountable. He's explained why. At this point, the website has been difficult to update. It's not an excuse. It's in deplorable shape. But it sounds like we have a game plan moving forward. We have an explanation how things are going to be different. At some point, I don't know how much more we can ask for other than a mayor's confirmation that this will be enforced. Thank you.
Councilor Hay.
Yeah, I see other councilors, non-committee members who'd like to speak, so I will wait. I was going to make a motion that we hold 03515 until everybody gets a chance to digest this, and hopefully it gets changed to my liking. But I'll wait to make that motion as I see other councilors non-committee members wishing to speak.
Councilor Bean.
Thank you, Mr. President. Trevor, I've heard over and over, and we've heard it since I've been on the council for 3 years now, about the website and the problems it has and that. And I think it's taken way too long to get to this point now of coming before with a solution. I mean, it should have been done 3 years ago when we talked about this. I heard it from, we did interviews for the economic development director. I sat on that committee. We heard it from every one of them saying, our website is terrible. You can't find what anybody looking to do business in Fitchburg can't really get much information. The other thing I'm concerned about is that we have 3 different directions. We have the City of Fitchburg website, we have this Fitchburg Rocks thing, we got Discover Fitchburg. Does this all bring it together? Because we need to have one message and one place to go and then go from there. But right now you go to Discover Fitchburg something, Fitchburg Rocks or something, and then City of Fitchburg. So I hope we can have one marketing strategy for the website and go forward with that. And that's my concern, is that we're doing it in a thoughtful manner. We're pulling it all together, not wasting resources on the other 2 things, whether we're paying for it or not, I don't know. But if you type in City of Fitchburg, that's what you get. And where do we want people to go? I want them to go to our website that's robust and it gets the information they have, and it doesn't. We'll do that now. And just one other small little thing that, as the IT director, if you said that you saw 4 weeks ago, or whatever it was, you saw that link doing Business Fitchburg is blank, we should take that link out till it works. I mean, it's embarrassing to click on that. I mean, that should be your job, to be able to manage that part of it, to find these dead links in that. I don't think, so, I guess I'll say shame on you for not deleting that by leaving it there. It just sends a small, a wrong message. And you have the authority to take
I didn't
that
see
out.
the link broken, I'm sorry.
Oh, you didn't? It's not broken, it's just blank. I mean,
Yeah, I didn't see it.
so you don't review it all? You don't review the website?
Right now, I don't review the web page
Who reviews the web page then?
the people who add the content. A lot of times, it's a link like that will be a link to something, another page, and it's broken.
I guess I ask this to the mayor then. So Mayor, you go on the website probably as much as anybody else, or you go to on our website, if there's something that you see, do you change it, or have you noticed any of those things that are dead links, and why are they still there?
So the way that we structured it, we went from having a website that was administered by one person and had all content. When we switched over, we had all the department heads create their own links with their own content. So the departments are responsible for that. That doing business as was something that and the old economic development director was doing and was unfinished.
But that was 6 years ago, excuse me, right?
Well, we were updating it with the one from just a year ago, or 7.5 months ago. So in absence of that, we actually have interns that are working on PDFs of that. Now, in terms of the broken links and so on, I don't have time, and neither does the IT director, to click through the website. So it's one thing for us to look for broken links, and I think we should probably just do that on the interim basis. But in the long term, the new system has those automatic ticklers that do it for us, because it's not just if we have 20 department heads all with multiple pages, I can't look at 200 pages all the time. With new videos and new uplinks and so on, I can't monitor that. But if we have automatic tickler systems, I can see that one department is updating it all the time. It'll tell me what the update is. And then I can also see that, for example, a particular department hasn't updated their website in 3 months, and I can go in and look at it that way rather than trying to guess what the change is. But my office, via Nate, has the ability to update and change and add the website now, as does Trevor, because frankly, our department heads haven't always been consistent but the amount of time it takes us to go and monitor each website could be an entire week versus this Tickler system is doing it automatically.
It just, again, all I'm saying is that for the current page that we have, if you go on there today, and I think it's under What's New in Fitchburg, and this is on the front page, so I'm looking at, most of the stuff I'm looking at is on the front page, because that's easy for people to look at. I'm not going into, 6 pages back. If you click on What's New, there's nothing in 2015 new in Fitchburg, and I know there are. So I'm just saying, those are the type of things that I don't know who's responsible for. I mean, who's responsible for that What's New part of it? So I think we need to have somebody, one person in charge of all this. I mean, I know it might be a tedious job for somebody to kind of look at the homepage or the front page all the time and make sure things are working right, but that's what the majority of people in the public is looking at, is that first page. If we can't get that right, it's going to be difficult. So I'm just saying is, we need somebody to look at that front page once in a while to make sure everything's right. Click on What's New and see if there is anything new. There isn't right now. It's all 2014, but we should have new stuff in there, and somebody should be putting stuff on there.
Councilor
I mean,
Joseph.
if we had the time, we had a PowerPoint, we could go through it all, but we don't need to do that. You know what we're talking about. But,
Absolutely, and
But
I agree.
we've been talking about it for I've been talking about it for 2 years anyways, I know that. And I'm still talking about, and again, it's got to be done. Action has to be taken.
I've asked for money 3 years in a row to replace the webpage.
Okay. But in the meantime, I'm just saying these little things got to be done. It's not, you can't wait for 3 years for money for this stuff. To put something What's New in there to monitor that should be your job or somebody's job, and it shouldn't cost too much to do that. It should be part of their job. I'm not talking about new money. I'm just trying to work. Why couldn't we have worked what we had? I know I want to go forward, but just make what we have, functional too.
Councilor Joseph.
I just wanted to state, I mean, our policy walked in here this evening. There's 8 of us, at least, that are sitting here with our computers that don't have that policy on their computer. I mean, how hard is it to click distribute and send it to everybody whenever, whoever it was that printed it? So,
It was sent out Friday, I believe, in an email to all city councilors. I was asked to do that prior to the weekend.
Okay.
I apologize
I
if it didn't get to
apologize.
you.
I'll just, sorry, Councilor.
Is it-
I'd just like to say from a finance standpoint that we have a order before us this evening, or a petition to allow DPW to deficit spend up to $350,000. We have $178,000 of free cash right now. We have budget season coming up within 3 months. Perhaps, I agree with holding this at the very least, but part of me even feels like giving it leave to withdraw and having this be put in the operating budget. Because this fiscal year, we have less than $200K left. We have 3 full months left. And we're having the DPW deficit spend $350,000. If anything, we could hopefully lobby to have this 42.5 be applied to that deficit, to knock that down as much as we can, and not touch the other 178 until something really comes up. I believe the building commissioner talked to me this week, and there's a property that right now far exceeds his demo fund that he's going to need money for. I'm concerned of either dipping into free cash or the other municipal reserve account with 3 months left to go, especially with an account that's being deficit spent. So I don't believe I'm ready to vote to support this for this fiscal year. Whether it goes into the budget next fiscal year is not up to me, but whether those of you agree with this or not, I still maintain that this problem that we have seen for at least 7.5 years, because that's as far along as I've been here, I fail to accept that this is because of our systems, only because of our systems. I fail to accept that. So I don't believe that the reason why this continues is because we don't have a new system. The city clerk, the city auditor, the Board of Health director are not, just hypotheticals, are not updating their pages, and no one's reviewing the updates because the system's not working. Because when you ask them to update it, it gets done the next day. The issue is no one's monitoring it. And if someone is supposed to be monitoring it, again, I am not making accusations. These are statements of fact. When you go on the website, you see all this crap. No one's monitoring it. Question is, who must monitor this? So I'll entertain a motion from the committee on what you wish to do with this.
Motion to hold 03515.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to hold 3515. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It is held. 4315, an order transfer $7,000 to assessor's personal services from assessor's expenses. Mr. Wilson, and we have a letter here dated February 12, 2015, from Mr. Wilson. Dear Mayor Wong, I am requesting a transfer of $7,000 from assessor's expenses contracted services to assessor personal services data collector. I am requesting this transfer money so that Thomas Caputi can continue the commercial industrial listing of property that he began upon his retirement. Tom has been working out well and has been doing a good job relisting the commercial industrial property. In fact, not including any new growth, his efforts to make cyclical changes to those properties has resulted in an additional $232,924 in tax revenue for fiscal year 2015. This transfer will still leave me with adequate monies in the contracted services account so that Patriot Properties can assist with the personal property listing as they have done in the past. I budgeted $15,000 for contracted services, and due to the weather and scheduling conflicts, I haven't spent any of that money yet this fiscal year. Additionally, when originally budgeting, I anticipated a more limited role for Tom, but as I have seen the results, it makes sense to let him continue with the listing of these commercial industrial properties. Sincerely, Ken Wilson.
Vote 4315 be adopted.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adopt 43-15. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Next, we'll move on to 4415, order appropriate $20,000 charging against Cemetery Perpetual Care Trust and credit to accounts as follows: $10,000 to Cemetery Water System Phase 4 and $10,000 to Cemetery Building and Grounds expenses. The letter basically says what the petition is. Mr. Laxo.
In past years, funding from the Perpetual Care Fund went directly to the cemetery budget as part of the annual budget process, but Mass General laws provide that the cemetery trustees actually have control of the Perpetual Care Fund. So at their request and beginning in fiscal year 15, the automatic transfer of funds from Perpetual Care to the cemetery budget is no longer taking place. So now the trustees review that during the year and discuss it with the cemetery superintendent and decide what needs to be done in the cemetery before they decide on a course of how to spend the Perpetual Care funds. So this year they voted to transfer $10,000 from Perpetual Care to fund the next phase of the water system improvement. That's been going on for 3 years now, and Phase 4 will be funded with $10,000, and that project will be complete next year. Also, an additional $10,000 is needed to supplement the Buildings and Grounds budget.
Mr. Laxo, what the water system phase project is that replacing pipes in the ground for the water to all the faucets all around the cemetery? Is that to replace old pipes, or what is that?
Yes, replacing all the pipes in the ground. They were 100 years old and deteriorated, and there were bad leaks all over the place. So we're about 3/4 of the way around the cemetery now, and just have another quarter to go.
And is this just Forest Hill?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the other $10,000 for expenses, what's that specifically for, the expenses?
It's for routine buildings and grounds care that relates to Perpetual Care of the grave sites. Because we didn't supplement the budget with Perpetual Care this year, we cut the building and grounds budget because that's what most closely correlates to Perpetual Care. The trustees just wanted to see how the year developed and what still needs to be done the remainder of the fiscal year. So it needs another $10,000 to keep going.
Councilor Kuchmarek.
Lenny, you mentioned this is Phase 4. We're about 3/4 of the way through. How many more phases can we expect, and what are you projecting over the next couple of years in terms of remaining costs to bring the project through to fruition?
Yeah, this will be the last phase ahead, so it'll be done once we do Phase 4.
Okay.
Councilor Green.
Does any of that $10,000 for building and grounds fix the mausoleum roof?
That's being funded separately. It's just about ready to go out for bids now, so we hope to get that work done this year. Everything's designed and ready to go. There was an equipment bond in fiscal year, back in 2011 to fund that project, plus we supplemented that with funds from the timber harvest that we had last year on Electric Ave. So we don't need to fund that out of the budget. It's being funded separately.
All right, and specifically up at Forest Hill, are there any other buildings there that need maintenance? That, like in the near future, like in this budget season, are there going to be any buildings that need maintenance?
Not immediately, no.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, what we should do is tear down the old office building up there, which is slowly deteriorating. Have a place to house the equipment and some storage up there, as well as offices, but that's a long-term project.
Thank you.
Move 04415 be adopted.
Motion made and seconded to adopt 04415. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. 04515, order that the Fitchburg Department of Public Works is hereby allowed to incur a deficit of up to $350,000 in the DPW snow and ice removal accounts for fiscal year 2015. You should have with you, committee members, the latest update from DPW on the snow ice account, currently showing a balance remaining of negative $238,000. President Hay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. During budget sessions, I always talk about the ability that the city has regarding deficit spending. And for all the years I've been on the council, I've talked about that as a tool that we hope we never have to use. But it is a tool that's available to us for certain circumstances. This year, from January 28th to February 23rd, was it, Lenny? Somewhere and around those dates, we had an extraordinary event in the city in the amount of snow that we had and the job and the money that the DPW had to do to make sure that the residents of Fitchburg had the ability to move from point A to point B. So their numbers have skyrocketed. I've always advocated that we do not deficit spend unless absolutely necessary, but that it is something that a tool that we can use in circumstances, and this is that circumstance. I would hope that when we receive free cash in the fall, and that is certified, that any amount of money that we deficit spend is the very first thing that we do is take money out of free cash and replace that money that we used for deficit spending to balance the budget. But if we don't allow the DPW to deficit spend this year, we're out of money. We don't have anything to spend on anything that comes up or anything that occurs that says, this needs immediate attention. So I will support this begrudgingly. It's a step that I wish we didn't have to take, but I believe that it's appropriate and it's necessary. Thank you.
Mr. Lax, so how much money are we expecting to get reimbursed from FEMA or MEMA, or are we going after anything?
Yeah, last month, all the cities and towns in the state were asked to submit their snow and ice costs for a 4-week period, and every city and town had to, submit 4 different costs for various numbers of days associated with different snowstorms. So DPW's costs came to $1,006,000 for that 4-week period, and there were other departments, police, schools, fire, that also had costs that they submitted on top of our $1,006,000. So if we get 75% reimbursement, that would be about $750,000 for DPW alone. But we haven't heard yet if the state or the county is eligible. That's what we're all waiting to hear.
So we have an order before us to deficit spend because we've already incurred $278K over our amount to make it legal in terms of allowing that to happen. I get that. Do we have any idea of a time frame of when we're going to hear back from the state or the feds about, is this just the state? Or is this the feds too?
It's MEMA administers the program for
Okay.
FEMA.
So do we have any idea, so we've submitted our requests, do we have any idea when they're going to come back with any definitive word on what's going to happen?
They haven't given us a date. I mean, I would hope it would be within the next couple of weeks, just judging on past.
So if we were
experience.
to approve a deficit spending account of 350, so we're in the whole 350, and we get, let's say, 700K back from MEMA, that'll cover our deficit, make us whole. What do we do with the other 350? Does that become free cash?
It could. I was actually at a school last week, and the director of the Bureau of Accounts was there, and this was an item that every community was there to hear what he had to say. And there will be information forthcoming, and one of the options would be what we get from FEMA-MEMA, and we should know by June 30th, and there will be a bulletin on instructing of our options. The state has already said they would allow us, if we needed to. The deficit is really right now is only $240,000. We could even cover it over 2 years, which I'm sure we don't want to do. I think if there was excess over the, say we received $700,000, we incurred $250,000. The difference, or $450,000, would probably become free cash. So we could use that for other purposes. And let me just say that the schools, airport, let's see, the library, the water and wastewater, those monies would probably be allocated for those departments too. But if we got notice from FEMA or MEMA that we were getting money, we could book a receivable for that amount of money, and we could probably transfer some of the deficit out of the account for the year end. I think ultimately our goal, as it has been in the past, would be to try to not show a deficit on the books at year end. So we did very well with the storm in '08 when I think we spent about $2.4 million with the ice storm. But the net, after all is said and done, I think we netted about $20,000 that the city had to pay because of all the reimbursements. And one of the things that is helpful in these reimbursements is that through Lenny's efforts and the others is we get reimbursed for the time used of the equipment, whereas that is already a cost that we didn't incur an expense there. We already bought the equipment. So that helps also.
Councilor Bezal.
Lenny, when I'm looking at this, I see overtime, labor, equipment rentals, plow blades, and salt. Does it, what about fuel? I'm sure you used a tremendous amount of fuel during. Is that part of this, or is it?
No, we've been paying for fuel out of our regular budget.
So how does that look right now for the year, the fuel cost?
Well, fortunately, the gas prices went down this year, so that helped a lot.
Okay. And also, as far as part of this here, I'm sure there's a lot of equipment that is probably in need of repairs because of how much snow they had to remove. Is that like a separate, do you just handle that out of your regular budget, or does that come out of the snow budget also?
Yeah, when repairs are needed to equipment that we use for snow and ice work, we charge it to the snow and ice account.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Councilor Joseph.
Just out of curiosity, is the next one that it has for the water department, is that's deficit spending for snow and ice? Is that something that is included in what you're applying for with MEMA and FEMA?
Yeah, the overtime for water is totally different. I mean, most of that's due to water main breaks that occurred because of
Okay,
the
because I
deep
saw there was
frost.
some snow plowing and...
Yeah, there's a little bit of that in there, and there was, now that I think of it, I think the water department might have submitted about $5,000 worth of costs to MEMA and FEMA for, for the overtime for plowing.
Okay, so that's included in the next one.
Right.
Councilor Hague.
Just wanted some clarification. The deficit spend, authorizing deficit spending for $350,000. Lenny's indicating that we hope to receive back somewhere in the area of $750,000. Is there a requirement, Dick, that if we receive that money, that we have to put $350,000 towards the deficit spend, or is that something that the mayor makes a determination on? Because if it's not a requirement, I want a commitment from the mayor that when and if we get that money, that will be the first thing that occurs.
I assume that I'm assuming that we would be required to do that. You have to take care of the deficit.
Okay, but that's
And it only makes sense to not would be to go against the intent. But I'd have to look at the
Okay.
the memo. The memo may say you have to do that first, or what could happen is we could, if we had available funds or we transferred funds at year end, to try to cover it, and then when the grant came in, we could treat it as a supplement to available funds.
Mr. Chairman, if I could ask the mayor that question then? If it does not make an absolute requirement that that happens, is that your intention of what you will do?
It is so much so that I would actually ask the council for your assurances for supporting that. We
Thank you.
Take care of the deficit.
Okay. Question answered, thank you.
Councilor Kuchmarek.
Mr. Laxo, you mentioned typically, historically, they've gotten back to you within about 2 weeks from now in terms of reimbursement. Is that?
No, that's just letting us know that we'd be eligible for reimbursement. Then once that happens, as a whole, we have to submit all the detailed paperwork and justify every nickel, which takes a few months. And
so that's around fiscal year end?
Last time we got reimbursed for a snowstorm, which happened to occur in February one year. We actually got the check in November.
So it doesn't seem that holding would give us much time.
Move that 04515 be adopted.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adopt 04515. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Next, we have 04615, order transfer $30,000 to water personal services overtime from water capital improvements, water system improvements. Mr. Laxo.
In the water division, we've had unusually high overtime costs due to a number of water breaks that always seem to occur on the weekends. Those are all caused by the real deep frost penetration that we had during this cold winter, as well as the need to plow snow on water division property. Right now, we have a balance of $13,155 in the overtime budget, which won't be enough for the rest of the fiscal year, so we're requesting that we'd be given approval to transfer $30,000 into the water overtime budget from the water system improvements account. Right now, that particular account has $212,000 in it, so we'd still have a healthy balance there as well.
Councilor Kuchmarek.
Just a point of clarification, the water capital improvements account, is that funded from the rate increases, for the long-term structural improvements of the system?
Yeah, the entire water enterprise fund budget is supported by rates, including whatever rate increases are out there.
So any of the long-term kind of improvements that were scheduled for this year, does that impact us from that planning standpoint? Does that, you said it seemed a little bit comfortable, but is that, you expect that all the work can be, any previously scheduled work can be completed without any deficits there?
Yeah, we kind of combined some water main replacement work with the sewer separation project, mostly in Ward 6. So we have enough money to get that work completed this spring.
Thank you.
Councilor Boschman.
You mentioned fixing up the overtime on water breaks, water main breaks. We had a water break main on Beach Street and Huron Street a couple weeks ago, or a couple months ago. There was a lot of personal property damage, and then it also undermined the road. Does any of that fund come out of the water department to fix that road in the springtime instead of Chapter 90?
The water department is responsible for those repairs.
Well, when we say repairs, if the road needs to be repaved, the whole road, because if you've been down there, I presume, it's all caved in. It's caved in there, and it's caved in part of Beach Street. Are they going to resurface the whole road? Are they going to tear it up and reach top and bottom and work up?
Yeah, they'll have to remove all the asphalt in the area that was damaged and replace the subgrade and repave it. We had a similar case on Claiborne Street a couple of years ago, and
Yeah.
the water department took care
Sure.
of that.
So that money, if it costs $100,000, because I presume it's wicked expensive to tar roads, the way I'm hearing it, and every time I put you a road, you say it's $200,000. And how much do they have in their fund, 200,000?
Yeah, that's in this year's capital budget,
All right.
but they also have reserves that if they had to, they could tap into.
But they will fix that. It won't come underneath the Chapter 90 money, right? Am I understand right?
That's correct.
Yeah. All right.
Move O 4615 be adopted.
Motion made and accepted it to adopt O 4615. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It was unanimous. Thank you. Councilors, if there are no objections, I'd like to take 4715 up to and including 5115 and bunch them together for this discussion. They're authorizing the superintendent of schools to submit to the Mass School Building Authority the statement of interest dated by April 9th, 2015 for Crocker Elementary School, Goodrich Building, where the alternative high school is, South Street Elementary, Fitchburg High, and Long Shore Middle School. We have Assistant Superintendent of Finance, Jokola here. President Hay.
Just confirming with Mr. Jokola, this is something that we do on an annual basis. It just allows the school department to submit these proposals of statements of interest to the state, showing that we're interested in getting money from the state to do these projects. Is that correct?
Correct. It's like filing your federal taxes by April 15th, so.
Move all 4715 up to including.
Council, I have one councilor not on the committee who had a...
I will wait.
Okay. Councilor Caddy.
Mr. Jokel, I just want to ask a question about the Long Joe Middle School. I haven't seen it, but I understood there was a major roof leak into the brickyard area. Has that been repaired?
There have been several leaks over the course of the winter, and as of right now, it is no longer leaking, so yeah.
Was there a lot of damage?
There was some damage to the floors, yeah, some bowing.
Are they going to be repaired?
We're looking, I guess, at all of the needs, so right now.
I thought that we put a new roof on that.
There was a new roof put on top of the brickyard and the auditorium at Longs Joe, correct?
The entire roof or just a portion of it?
Just a portion over the gym and over the auditorium, flat roof.
How long ago was that done?
That was done, I believe, in 2000, let's say 2008 or 2009. So 5 or 6 years.
So there's no guarantees with the
No,
person
this,
who
part of the reason it caused one of the leaks was that the icicles came down and actually caused some punctures through the snow because of all the melting. Some of the drains actually go through the roof, they froze back up, so we had people going above the ceiling and trying to heat up the pipe so it would thaw out. So there were a few reasons why it was leaking. And I guess really from a, let's say I'm not a roofing expert, but I would say from a warranty perspective, I don't know if we could say it was for defective workmanship. I think it was just, I'd say once every generation type snowstorm. And just the way that roof is constructed and some of the drainage occurs contributed to why we had the leaks.
Are there any plans on vacating that building?
Well, not at this time. As I say in this letter, we're in the process of going out to bid for a feasibility study for our facilities. See what the needs of our students are and what our, I guess, portfolio of buildings can accommodate. As part of the submittal of the statements of interest, we have to annually designate a priority school. So in this year's submittal, we're designating Crocker as a priority. So once we receive the feasibility, or the need study of what our needs are given enrollment trends, the housing stock changes, that'll help us inform what we need to do for whether it be Crocker or any other school. And then I think through conversations with the city, look at what's, I guess, financially feasible as well. And we've had very preliminary conversations. So,
What I'm hearing is that there's plans on adding on to Crocker School and vacating Longjo. That's what I've been hearing on the street.
Well, this is the first step in the planning process, so there are no plans beyond, I'll say, what our options are.
The reason I'm asking you this is because of what we went through tonight with
Sure.
B.F. Brown.
Understood. Understandable.
And that building is probably the biggest building that you can see all over the city. It's very large.
That's correct.
And if the school department were to vacate it, it would leave a huge hole in the center of the city. And I'm just worried that you're not caring properly for the building. You're not keeping it up. And if you continue not to keep it up, you're going to vacate it, and we're going to be left with another huge building that we're going to be begging people to take from us. And we have a lot of buildings like that already. So I just got to tell you, as long as I'm on this council, I would never allow that to happen.
Council Boschman.
I got one thing I want to say to you. With me dealing with you, Council Bean and I, and we asked you a couple of questions way back at budget time, way back. And we talked about Rollstone School, you know, and we asked it to be cleaned up. You didn't clean it until, and I told you, you might as well just forget it, because you might as well just wait for the frost. It was useless because it was all summer with debris, couches and overgrowth. Are you gonna do anything different up there besides get rid of the building? Are you gonna maintain the property better this year so it's like it's cut, where people can take pride in their neighborhood and cut their grass and
You're talking the
main-
Rollstone facility now?
Yeah.
Well, we have made an effort so far.
Council, can we keep it to the schools on the orders?
Well, I figured
I
this
mean,
was this question.
I know, but
All right.
that building's not before us. I mean, let's keep it to Crocker.
All right, no, then,
Goodrich,
I
South Street.
withdraw the question, sir, I'm sorry. I'll ask it at budget time.
Move that 046.
Just a brief comment. Mr. Jokel, I just wanted to thank you. Both last year at this time, through the budget process, you provided a list of the various scopes of work that were needed for, laundry list of our facilities, particularly the active facilities. And, I know that state funding, they don't always give you what you want, so sometimes you have to make the money work for the number of projects that are available in front of you. And while that may seem obvious that you have a list, kind of a laundry list of the items that you need to accomplish, I know that's always easier said than done. So I just wanted to commend you, for always, keeping the active tally, knowing what projects are available and where and how far these funds can go towards getting some of these items done. So I have every faith that, with the funds that, that we may get and that may have available, that, you'll proceed in the right direction towards improving the schools that we currently have. So thank you.
I agree with Councilor Kuchmarek, and I'd like to move that 04615 up to including 05115 be adopted.
Motion made and seconded to adopt 04715 up to and including 05115. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you.
Adjourn.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.